First of all, modern UI of Airflow. So I will show you how Airflow modern UI looks like. And I will tell you that Airflow, it has great DAG authoring capabilities you might not be aware of. And that it's actually an extensible platform, not only an orchestrator. And of course, after the last talk I saw just half an hour ago, it's a true open source with a strong community as you can get, and a solid infrastructure. And I will tell about all that, I hope. And so shortly, it should be like Airflow should be the modern orchestrator of your choice, and I will try to convince you that this is the case. So that's what the talk is going to about. Very quickly about the Airflow timeline. You can see that there is it was born in Airbnb, then it was incubated in 2016 in ASF incubator, and it took a few years, like 3 years, to become a top level project. This is around the time when I joined. I think like 4 months before Airflow became the top level project. And then I'm coming back a little. And then Airflow 2.0 happened in 2020, and that was a kind of pivotal point for Airflow because we basically broke some compatibility. We rewrote a number of internals there in order to make Airflow much more extensible and able to add new features, be a great orchestrator in the modern world. And as you can see, after that, we had like continuous steady releases, which were coming every few months, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, sorry, 2.7, like 2.8 is coming, like its release candidate is being voted right now. So probably tomorrow or the day after, there will be a new Airflow 2.8. And some things that I wanted to talk about, like it is going to be 10th anniversary of Airflow next year, 2024, and unofficial information. That's the first time you can hear. So like it's a great thing that OSACon happened around that time, because we are about to announce that Airflow Summit is going to be in 2024 in September in Bay Area, a physical event. A great success we had with Airflow Summit 2023 in Toronto, 500 people, and we plan for 2024 more than 1,000 attendees. So you can see it's actually quite used piece of software. Going back to the topic, because I don't have too much time. Modern UI. So Airflow, as you might not be aware, has a really great and modern UI, which is based on React, and it's very sleek and nice. And as you can see here, the grid view is the kind of front and center, the first thing that you see when you interact with Airflow, and it's after you choose the DAG to work with, and it's really beautiful and nicely designed. Fun story. Some big provider of big service, which was mentioned several times, they have several times at the OSACon. They have a very similar UI. I mean, you might think why Airflow stole the UI or got the UI. It was actually the other way around. We introduced the grid view first, and then they took it from us. I don't mention names right now. There is a very nice task, the graph view, where you can see the interaction and the dependencies between the tasks, and it's becoming better and better for example, in 2.8 release, we have a nice, making it much more visible, the status of the tasks, and we are improving that all the time, and listening to our users and improving it. Or is an integrated log view that you can see the logs right there when you look at your task. There is a new Gantt chart, which is also greatly integrated with the grid view. And finally, and this is almost recent, almost latest things, we have cluster activity, which was added in 2.7, where you can see the status of the whole cluster of Airflow in single place, and see the problems that you can have with Airflow. So that's the very short about the UI. You might not be aware that Airflow has this kind of I just scroll back again and maybe forth to see this is if you are used to the kind of old UIs that you can see in before 2.0, or even during the 2.0 evolution. This is now really nice and beautiful and sleek. Now about coming back, DAG authoring. This is this is something that people really loved about Airflow 10 years ago, that it was easy to write DAGs, but things changed, and we improved a lot and changed a lot and gave a lot of things to our users to make it much better in the modern world, in the current world. So first of all, handling dependencies. So handling dependencies is really the It was really an issue when Airflow 2.0 started, or even before in 1.10. We had like lots of external integrations and lots of problems, lots of different libraries to interact with. Handling conflicting dependencies was always a problem, but it's much less nowadays because you have multiple options and they are nicely documented, and you can see how you can deal with them. I will not explain all of them. No time for that. Happy to answer later at the orchestration table. Very soon we have a coming the multi-tenancy setup where you can have per tenant dependencies, so which will be even much better to be able to separate things out and have like pieces of dependencies like spread over different part of the integration of Airflow. And I gave a nice talk, Mastering Dependencies the Airflow Way, at the Airflow Summit 2023 in Toronto. You can watch it online. I will post the presentation later so you can see the links after that. And it plays super well with task flow, which is a nice segue about the task flow to the next slide. Because you might not be aware, if you're using Airflow the traditional way, that right now you can write the task and DAGs in a much better, more Pythonic and simpler way. And that was an inspiration from others who started doing it before us, but we just took it to the next level and integrated it very well with Airflow in the sense that you don't have to even rewrite your old DAGs to this new task flow model where you have, like, you see the old way on the left side, you can see that you have to create classes. Right now in the new way, you just decorate your methods, and of course others did it before us, but we just took it to the really like next level because like we have everything. Like you could do pretty much anything you want with the task flow. We have some core task flow decorators prepared that can do everything you want, like even like start external Python operator, external Python virtual env, for example. Even like recently we are discussing, and we have a bash decorated operator coming when you can combine Python and bash in one way, which is like super cool actually. And then you can also get the task coming from providers. So like we have a lot of providers. I will tell about providers later. We have like more than 80, not 18, more than 80 integrations with external world in the form of provider. And you can provide your own decorators there. And we do have some like Docker, Kubernetes, as the SFTP sensors. But of course, you can also write your own providers and write your own decorators. And this is like opens up Airflow to your own customizations, which is really cool. And finally, in the decorators, like task group decorators, segue to the next slide, we have task groups. Not many people also know, but you can now group the tasks in Airflow. Like these people probably know already that you can group tasks together in groups and nested groups even, as you can see here. And it's also nicely done with the decorator, as you can see. But also not many people know that in the recent versions of Airflow, what happens is like the task group become really an entity that you can act on. You can just really rerun the whole task group, or you can yeah, that's one of the things that you can do. And that's not only a UI concept as it was before, but right now it's just the first class citizen of Airflow as running it and executing workflows. And this is actually opens up a whole bunch of possibilities, especially with the things that are coming next, which I'm talking about, like a dynamic task and group mapping. So and Max also mentioned that in the previous talk today when he was talking about the general landscape. Is like that some people do use like Airflow and other orchestrators for doing stuff like transferring data, for example, or doing executing stuff. So we have this dynamic task mapping, which allows you to do the kind of map reduce kind of workflows executed on Airflow actually, and that's super cool. Especially that you can do it like in a breadth first execution, which means like you fan out the tasks. Then they fan in, then you fan out again, and like this is kind of typical MapReduce, but also, and this is also the thing that came to the task group later, like task groups can also be dynamically mapped, which means that you can have multiple task groups running. So a whole small sub workflows can run in parallel in multiple instances. This is actually super cool, and yeah, just go and use it because it's fantastic. And I keep on finding all our users find so many interesting usages for that like we had never foreseen that. But this is something that is so powerful. So dynamic task mapping, again, just to repeat how it looks like, then you can actually, take some values, expand a single task, like you can see here, the task was expanded to 3 instances, and then you can sum it like kind of map reduce style. And the same you can do with groups, and like this is super powerful. We have full UI support for that, and so again, this grid view is like super powerful for to show and manage all that. This is this is actually quite cool, what happens there. Then you have the deferrable operators, which is like something that can save you like ton of money. Like if you are into savings, then you have like with deferrable operators, you can use the async IO capabilities to not to wait actively on something to happen, but to make it happen in like in a single trigger, which is just an async IO event loop. And if you know how it works, it's like it's fantastic, because like no worker slots are taken while the things are waiting for something. And we have like already like multiple hundreds of deferrable operators, like Amazon team, especially they did amazing work to implement all of the operators they have in working in deferrable mode. And that's happened like recently, like last few months, literally. Then there are tens of different kinds of triggers available for, like, waiting for a file, or waiting for time to happen, or waiting for some job to complete on like Amazon, for example, and that you can use them. And you can, of course, roll your own trigger, so it's fully customizable. It's like, wow, I can write my own trigger to do deferrable things, interacting with my own custom system, and that's cool. And some customers report 80-90% performance improvement. They mean less power, less CPU, less number of instances to run the same things that they ran before. And this is great, and just make use of it. Very recent new things that happened as well: setup and teardown. So when you have some task that can set up an environment, for example, like start an instance in Amazon, for example, then you have like possibility of adding setup and tear down. Like, that from the unit testing approach, you set up the instance and tear it down. Doesn't matter if the actual task here, like this run query inside, it doesn't matter if it succeeds or not. The infrastructure will be torn down at the end, and again, you save money because things are not left running. This is actually super cool new features that has been added really like into 7. And small things like notifiers. So we have this notifier, which is just like great thing to notify that your task completed or not completed or failed. So you can just write a simple class like here, and use the class in your on success callback in your operator. And of course it can be also in the decorated version of it, in the task flow version. And this is a reusable mechanism to write your own notifications. And this is like a very small thing. Like it's literally this one method, notify, nothing more. But our users were like extremely happy, and like adoption of that was like amazing. And you should, because it solves elegantly a very simple problem, and something that you can just implement once and use in all your DAGs and for the whole organization of yours. And I was super surprised that it took off as quickly and and people were so happy with it, because you could do that before, but now we just make it easy. And very recent thing, and we are coming now into the things that are going to be released like tomorrow or the day after. So the 2.8 version of Airflow comes with built-in object storage, FS spec integration, which is like, if you don't know FS spec, you should, because this is the way how like standard Pythonic now, like really Pythonic way, and de facto standard to interact with different kinds of object storages that you can have, and interact with them like literally by the same way as you do with patlib. Yeah, so like you see here, mkdir / and then you specify your file that you want on your particular bucket, for example. But more importantly, it gets like out of the box integration, because everyone else is implementing FSpec, like Pandas, Polars, Parquet, DuckDB, which was all of the Iceberg, PyArrow, all of the things that were mentioned in the previous talks in the last 2 days. All of them support FSpec, and you can just drop it here and say like DuckDB load this object, And it will it will just get it from wherever, and it will use the credentials that are coming integrated with Airflow. So this is the most important part, because what we do is, like, you in your DAX, you just specify the connection that you want to use, where the credentials are stored to your AWS or Google Cloud Storage, for example. And then that's it. I mean, you just specify it, and Airflow handles all the authentication and credentials for you. So you are just focusing on writing the DAG and read your files. I mean, not even this. It's just you just point to your files, and they are read by whatever you're using. And like, one way to rule them all is great. And this is coming like literally tomorrow or day after. So that's and the last thing, and that was also mentioned several times, like even Max mentioned today. And one thing, I would like to thank Nick for the talk yesterday, because yesterday there was a talk about, like, how modern data stack failed and how orchestrators are important in this. So yeah, actually, like, this is like where Airflow is actually filling that place perfectly, because we are not only doing the orchestration of tasks, but we are also doing the data aware scheduling as of 2 releases, and what's coming next is actually even more of that. It's like we decided not to do this kind of data driven scheduling, like, for every single task, because we think it makes no sense. But we introduced the concept of micro pipelines, where you have separate DAGs which are taking the inputs and outputs being data sets, and the data sets are first class citizens. So we think, like, the DAGs itself, the small ones, should be still task driven, but then the whole set of those DAGs connected as a micro pipelines, and several pipelines connected, where one DAG produces, so one DAG consumes some data sets and produces others, and then the same here. So we have another DAG which produces the outputs, and another DAG which consumes that. This is the kind of perfect workflow we see happening in the future, where you can focus on task processing your data, but then inputs and outputs from those particular micro DAGs are the data-driven things. And this is how we are approaching this problem. And it's still early days. It's not fully featured yet, but I know what's coming, and it's mind-boggling. Like object storage integration, which I told you before, the partial data sets, which we're working on, the data aware triggering, which is going there, and open lineage, which I'm going to talk about. This is all going to be integrated in this single package, where you'll be able to track all the data provenance and use the data aware scheduling. So actually, from the Max talk, he separated these workflows and kind of data workflows. I think this with Airflow, it's converging, because we are just collapsing this to a single tool that handles both. That's what's coming, but also, like, we are responding to the needs of the modern world. Like the LLMs, of course, are all the rage, and recently we have open like six different LLM operators donated by Astronomer, which is cool. And what's even more, these are no like abstract operators that they have no use. It's like all these operators previously powered what Astronomer recently released is like Ask Astro, which is like a bot which answers all the questions about Airflow, which is like, wow. I mean, we have a bot which is produced by Airflow and answers all the questions about Airflow, freeing us maintainers to answer those questions. And this is like so cool. You should try it if you have some question about Airflow. Just go to Ask Astronomer.io, and it usually answers well. If not, then like, okay, you can always ask us in Slack and everywhere else, and we can figure it out. But this is not all. Like, this is like features is not all that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about like the general direction of Airflow as a platform. So Airflow, maybe coming. No, it's okay. So Airflow as a platform is like the concept that we have right now is that we don't want to add more things into Airflow except like making things better, which we already have. But really, we think what we can move out and let others take care about that, and become an Airflow becoming a platform that makes it possible for those other things to do the things well. And we are doing that with a number of things. So first is like open lineage. It's integrated into Airflow in terms of the integration, but then the open lineage is just an API that is like exposed by Airflow. We don't do anything with the open lineage. We don't want to do it. Like, why not? Why should we? But there are other tools which are integrated with the open standard, and they can do whatever you need for data provenance, data cataloging, and all the needs that also others like Max of the previous talk that he explained is like this is something that we or big organizations needs. And I think you should look at the open lineage if you didn't so far, because this is the lingua franca for all the different kinds of tools that are using the lineage information. And in Airflow, we have like column level lineage built in. It's fully integrated. We are like going to have a better task flow support it's in works, and I saw what's coming in like 2.9 most likely. It's going to be really great. And Open Lineage as such has a great adoption. This is like what you see here is the Marquez, which is the kind of reference implementation of Open Lineage tracking tool from Open Lineage. But any tool can be used because Open Lineage is really the lingua franca between the different kinds of producers of the information. Airflow is one of them, but there are many others. Like Spark can produce Open Lineage data now on its own. And then there are different tools which are using the data, and this is really becoming standard, like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all of them are adopting Open Lineage, and this is going to be future, I think, for Open Lineage and for Lineage and the data cataloging. Then we have Open Telemetry integration, which is also fully integrated in Airflow as of now. It's basically adopted by everyone. I mean, all the Datadog and like all the different kinds of tools that are allow you to do observability of your processes or programs or applications, they are adopting it. It's still early day for us. We have just the metrics integration. Traces log support is in the works, and it's going to be it's coming soon, because this is something that a lot of people are asking about. But that's something that like we are working on. But also, as a platform, we are allowing others, I mean, not allowing, like we make it possible for others to expand what Airflow is and make it even better. So DBT was mentioned several times. And the basic DBT operators in Airflow are rather simple. As you can see, like you just run DBT and like you don't know anything what happens. But if you combine with things like Astronomer's Cosmos, which is an open source library that Astronomer releases as an add-on to Airflow, let's say, then this one model of DBT can expand into the actual task flow task and the task group in the DAG itself, which is fantastic because you can from Airflow you can actually interact with the DBT model. So that's one of the examples of things that you can do with Airflow right now. It's fully integrated, very nicely working with it, and like people love using Cosmos for DBT. And this is cool because we don't have to, as a community, take care about that. I know how complex it is. I spoke to Tatiana, who is managing it, and like it's like so many problems. And good that we don't have to do it in the community, and Astronomer is doing it. But also we have like fully fledged REST API, which is like this is the way how to interact with Airflow, and you can write anything you want by just interacting with the API, and it's fully interactive, fully fledged, fully like stable. As you can see, it's a stable version. It's not gonna change. We have Semver promises, so like you can use the API as you want. Not like don't access the database directly. Use the API because it's not gonna change, and you will be able to use to integrate with Airflow, and with Airflow as a platform, you can do anything in this way. The engineering friendliness was mentioned before, and I want to just dispel a little bit of myths there. So, of course, for us, workflow is as a code is a front and center, but we do have ways that tasks can be tested. Airflow task test, Airflow DAG test. We have unit test guidelines how to test Airflow. With system test support. We allow to run Airflow locally with Airflow standalone, Docker Compose, but also community is great because there are people who are implementing IDE integration. Like there is a VS Code integration for Airflow. I mean, like just see the DAGs, rendered in your VS Code. And again, we don't have to maintain that. The community does it for us. This is like fantastic. But also one thing that I wanted to mention here is Airflow CTL. This is a new thing, new project that Airflow was talking also about at the Airflow Summit, which is like allows you to manage the Airflow locally, and it's external. It's like in Caxil private project, and Caxil is one of the PMC members, my friend. But we are thinking about like merging it into Airflow as soon as it reaches the stability and usability level that we think, yeah, it makes sense. let's make it part of the community. And we are continuously improving that. And also, the important thing, Airflow is actually open source and true open source, which means that we are part of the Apache Software Foundation. We are the largest project in ASF by far. We passed Spark last year, and we are continuing spreading the gap. We have more than 2,700 contributors. Our license is permissive ASF, Apache license, and it will never change. Like, this is guaranteed by the foundation. And the talks before about the open source, what it is like, they were like, Airflow is precisely like, this, like, we are the true open source. I mean, you don't have the risk that some vendor will just take his things out and like change the license, as it happens with OpenTofu or MongoDB or others. And then you will be left with nothing. And by paying, this is not going to happen, because we are well established, strong governance, 61 committers, 32 PMC members. We are like very, very strong stakeholders like Astronomer, Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Everyone is investing in Airflow, and you can be sure, even if one of them goes away, the others will stay, and this will be like fully maintained projects, and Apache Software Foundation governing, making sure that vendor neutrality is there. This is like the guarantee for you. We have like security, release process, and maintenance certainty, because all those processes are coming to through Airflow, through Apache Software Foundation. Community is huge. We have tools integration with Airflow of different kinds. I will not go through details, because like we have too many, and I don't have too much time. I think I'm also already running out of time a little bit. But like, yeah, visual editors, IDE integration, CLI, like all there is an ecosystem page in Airflow that shows you like how you can use Airflow better. But also something that is very close to my heart, because I'm really working mostly on the infrastructure of Airflow, making sure that it's solid and like, very good for everyone, for all the commercial users. We have public interface of Airflow. We can providers that you can upgrade and provide like different things like hooks, operators, executors, notifications. I will not go into details, which means that you can very easily upgrade and downgrade Airflow, or even parts of it, and make sure that it's tailored to whatever you need. We have full life cycle for those providers. Like, we can approve them by community. We can support life cycle, suspend, resume, and remove. And you can have third-party providers in the registry. Another thing that we have, like extensible user management. This is coming out in 2.8.0 right now, that we will be able to integrate with any authentication you want and integrate it with your corporate things. We know that security is super important, and that's very close to my heart. And like, regulation is coming, and we know that in the EU market, the regulations is coming. In 2 years, you will have to be secure, or like, and keep upgrading things. Airflow is part of the HackerOne OSS bounty. We have highly functional security team. 4 Airflow contributors got the funding from Sovereign Tech Fund to make Airflow more secure, and this is going to continue, and that's fantastic. Security model, security policy, SBOM generated, and securing release process by reproducible builds, which is like really great way to keep security of your product. And multi-tenancy component isolation is in progress. So these are all the things that you should remember. Airflow is modern. We have new sleek ways to interact with the modern data stack. We are true open source. Community is huge, strong, and supportive. And more exciting things are coming, and coming fast.